Man, I'm really getting tired of these subspace shards. Let's see if maybe we can redirect this tachyon flow. And
Hey, Peter, Peter.
oh, Joe, man, I thought you were still supposed to be on duty, man. What are you doing down here?
Listen, I got something I really got to tell you, dude.
Well, hold on, man.
It's
I'm getting off in like 5 minutes. You want to swing down by 10 forward? We can grab some synthahol.
it cannot wait. It cannot wait. This is some real shit, man. I don't. Can you lock it down in here? I don't want anyone else to hear this. This is some fucking real shit, dude. This is fucking hardcore. I need some help. I need your help. I need it right now.
Did you sleep with one of the Delaney sisters without a condom?
No, dude, I'm not fucking around with you, man. This is serious. This is 100% legit. Like, I'm freaking out. I'm freaking out. I'm
Yeah,
freaking out. I
tell.
need you.
Never acted like this before, Joe. What is it?
Okay. I know this is gonna sound crazy, but I'm from another like dimension. I'm like from another parallel timeline or something. The world's not right. Like everything is similar but not real. It's not my real reality. I don't know. I don't know what to do, man. I need to find a way back.
Where's the crazy part?
The crazy part's from parallel fucking dimension, dude.
What are your panties all wound up in a bunch about here exactly?
That I'm displaced in the time-space continuum?
And
that motherfucker, that's what's up.
you're pitching this to me like it's something that, I mean, the way you're talking, where's the crazy part? Are you leaving something out?
You just you're not concerned at all?
Are you? I mean, obviously, I assume you are. Look, man, I don't know where you think you're from or where you think you're at, but this is Star Trek reality. Oh, okay, no big deal. This is like a Tuesday. The last time this happened, the Joe that got body swapped in here, he ate dog. All right, and that stuff really stunk, and it took me a good 2 months to shake people out of thinking that was the real Joe. So, you got anything weird? You got like 8 fingers, or I mean, the one guy had 10.
You know what, dude? Is there like a number I can call? I'll just get this wrapped up.
Okay, good. So you're not a complete idiot then in your dimension, and you guys have that whole part of Starfleet that's dedicated just to dealing with this bullshit. Because, I mean, I don't know where you're from, but around here in the Star Trek universe, like 1 out of 4 people gets bounced into another body. Yeah, you see that big number in red on the refrigerator over there?
Yeah.
That's the temporal alternate reality hotline, and you just call that, and like I said, they'll get you sorted out. So chill out. It's no big deal. We handle this stuff on like an hourly basis around here. Everybody here is a reasonable, enlightened scientist in a post-scarcity society with nothing to worry about. So I believe everything you're saying, and we'll get this fixed. And before you know it, you'll be back to your maybe dog-eating dimension, and real Joe and I'll swing by and get some drinks.
You know, we really wrapped this plot up very nice and tight, didn't we?
It's Star Trek, Joe. That's what we're here for.
Welcome to Voyager, please, everybody. My name is Joseph.
I'm Peter.
Peter, I don't know about you, man, but we gotta stop recording this shit on school nights because I'm gonna need to start drinking if we're gonna keep getting episodes like this. I'm gonna need alcohol to cope.
I'm gonna confine you right off the bat. I really enjoyed watching this episode. I enjoyed watching it for all the Voyager please reasons, whereas that last goddamn thing we sat through was just a miserable fun killer. This one was just so bad that I got 2 solid pages of notes here. I cannot wait to jump into this cornucopia of low-hanging fruit.
I completely agree with what you said. I just feel like alcohol would have enhanced the experience of watching something that's bad instead of just bad. It was refreshing in a way to be able to pause this episode and be able to make fun of it rather than wallow in the misery of the experience. So that's definitely an improvement.
I For me, the Voyager thing is shaping up into episodes that are a waste of time, but there's some pretty cool thought process, and there's some neat world building and environment fleshing out. And then there's just the bad episodes that, like the last the Hallmark episode, that are just terrible bottle episodes. They don't bring anything new. They don't provoke any real thoughts, and they're a drag. This for Voyager especially, some of the insights into Starfleet, pretty exciting to think about, and very, very easy to kick between the legs.
Let's start right away, shall we?
Yes.
So here we are. It's season 2, episode 5, Non Sequitur.
I want to say something before we go forward. I apologize for how boring and depressing our last episode may have been. I'm going to make it up to you. I'm fucking pumped about this thing. And for all of you guys out there driving on your way to work or whatever, get ready for fun, because I got just poop all over my mouth and hands from the shit sandwich this episode was, and I'm ready to share.
So, well, they don't wait to really introduce us to some real tone setting cheese, because we get Harry Kim waking up, on the softest of the soft focused lens on his California King bed.
Stop you right there, Joe. I'm gonna stop you right there. That close up on his face. I'm a Star Trek fan, Joe. I'm paying attention. I'm taking notes. I'm living in the nitty gritty, terrible detailed places that the writers don't want to think about. Right off the bat, I pause things. I pause these episodes and I let the first frame sink in. I pause and I said, who is this human being laying in bed? Where is the robot wearing a face mask that I know to be the real Harry Kim, laying there rigid like a board? Let's say that's board, not Borg. Rigid like a board, hands open palm at his side with a fucking face mask on. Already I know something's afoot. Continue.
And he finds himself awakened next to a woman that I could only call Eyebrows McNineties chick. The eyebrows on this woman were sentient. They were on search for intelligent life from another planet, and they found the 90s chick they could possibly find and grafted themselves to it.
Well, that's what I thought was Debbie. Her name's actually Libby. And I shared in your concerns, Joe.
She seems like a Debbie, though. She spiritually is a Debbie. Continue.
In that most Chakotay of nonsense ways, yes, spiritually. I said she looks like a cave woman, and I continue to think she looks like a cave woman. What if I were to tell you, Joe, that this woman is a repeat Star Trek actor, and she has been on the show before, perhaps picked for this Neanderthal-like quality to be a Klingon?
I'm in no way surprised, given this woman's eyebrows, that she played a Klingon.
She was in Birthright Part 2, I think. That's where there's the colony of Klingons living on, I believe, a Romulan prison planet or something, and Worf finds her bathing naked or something, I believe.
So she was a Klingon babe.
For as babe as Klingon can be, I think she was chosen for some very striking facial features. But you've already jumped ahead too far, Joe. You're not bringing this episode into your pores the way you need to. Kim wakes up not to his Neanderthal roommate nudging him. He wakes up to Janeway's voice whispering in his ear as a distant dream, in basically a hint that something's wrong, that there was some sort of an accident and he's in a place he shouldn't be, because Janeway's going on about shuttlecraft Drake, do we read us? And basically alludes to, you guessed it, yet another shuttlecraft incident on Voyager.
It's like 3 in a row.
We're not even 10 seconds into this episode, and already I got Kim not wearing a mask. And I've got what is the 4th shuttlecraft incident, if anybody is counting out there. Hint, hint, I'm counting. I went through all my notes. I counted. There have been 4 specific incidents involving these shuttlecrafts in what we find out to be the 8-month mark for Voyager. This is going to mark the second shuttlecraft that Voyager has lost. Quit using these goddamn things. You cannot take the shuttle bay an inch out of the ship without there being some sort of calamity. Like anybody who Janeway saying, hey, pop in the shuttle. Whoa, 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 whoa. You and I both know this is a death sentence. What did I do wrong, Janeway?
Why are you letting me hang my ass out in a space RV in the middle of a sea of piranhas that is the fucking Delta Quadrant? Like, why? What did I do wrong? How did I draw this short straw?
Yeah. I'm not trying to celebrate my dead dad. Why do I got to go out in this thing?
Well, Harry told one too many people his little story about remembering the womb, and they just want him to go away for a while. Yeah. They're having some HR problems.
Janeway's like, take your soulless ass the fuck up out of here. All right, so he wakes up next to this cave woman, and we get treated to a skyline of San Francisco.
Oh my God!
It is this beautiful, serene cardboard cutout of a city that is literally the only thing missing from this fucking thing is a Japanese dude stumbling around in a rubber Godzilla suit kicking over buildings.
It's a look of the skyline of San Francisco, but it's the skyline of San Francisco of 1995. Apparently nothing has changed in 400 fucking years, and the only indication you have that it is the future is that they've got this one little lonely little shuttlecraft that's going across the middle of the screen, and they might as well have been a cardboard cutout with a fucking production assistant behind it going, wee, 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 for all the fucking effort they put into it. Like, my God, the Old Bay Bridge is still there. That's not even there in 2018. Like, Jesus Christ. No effort. No effort. In fact, they put so little effort into the establishing shots of San Francisco on this. I can't wait till we get to the next one.
Well, you've touched on a couple of things, and I want to talk about it now before we get into it. They reuse so much footage in this episode because, for the real truckers out there, you've all, of course, know that San Francisco is the home base of United Federation of Planets and Starfleet.
Ho, 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 ho. That is not the home base of the United Federation of Planets.
I'm sorry, just Starfleet.
Just Starfleet. But Paris is the United Federation of Planets headquarters.
Well, you got me real good there, Joe. Congratulations. I'll give myself a slap on the wrist.
I'm going to go to Reddit and I'm going to talk about how awesome I am. Thank you.
Well, you know what's going to happen is you're going to get your face shoved in shit. If you go near there trying to toot your own horn.
It's true.
But anyway, so Starfleet headquarters is San Francisco, and there is a very large, United Federation of Planets outpost there. I know this, and I'll get into the reason why, because the Star Trek CCG that Decipher made in the late 90s basically functions as flashcards, and I would say 80% of my Star Trek knowledge has been burned into my memory due to this card game.
I've known you for 10 years, Peter, yet it still surprises me when I learn how alike our early lives truly were.
Well, and you certainly, when they do finally get around to showing Starfleet headquarters, I mean, that is the United Federation of Planets. It's the UFP outpost image from the CCG. Like, specifically, I even pulled up, I'll post it up on the website. Like,
that's a reuse from TNG. Sure, yeah.
So you got to reuse there. You got a lot of old, like, Undiscovered Country. I think the Voyage Home, a couple other San Francisco shots. I think there's like 4 of them in the film. Even for like Voyager standard def, like the film quality of these cut-ins for reused footage, it just slaps you in the face.
Yeah, all of the cutout establishing shots they do after this one are from the Star Trek movies, and because they were shot on film, they look remarkably different than everything else. Like most of them look like they were from Star Trek 6.
Yeah.
And they all look like they're from another fucking planet. Like all of a sudden it's this gorgeous like matte painting, or a really good effects shot on film, and then it's right back to our shitty TV standard def. Like, ugh.
Yeah. So I want to pause the episode here. And if you listen to our intro, it really hits a nail that's going to get blasted several times until it's like down through the 2x4 you're trying to attach it to, and like, I don't know, well into whatever the bottom fixture was.
It's in fucking China. It's like halfway. It's all the way through the globe by the time they're like doing the big reveal at the end. Like, no fucking shit, dude.
Kim wakes up. He knows something is wrong. He sees a woman that he loves. He sees San Francisco, and there's just red alert like going off in his brain. He knows like, he's openly monologuing about uh, the problem here, and this guy does nothing even remotely resembling common sense.
The overall idea is there's been another sort of space-time displacement. Harry Kim is not on Voyager. We're going to hear and talk about this weird alternate reality that he's in. And I want to say now, the reason I wanted to say that now is because the premise of the show, the premise of this episode, is not itself bad or a bad idea. It's just everything else about the character they focused on and when they decided to use this idea makes all of their other decisions absolutely mind-numbingly terrible that it doesn't work. So, like, the overall premise of, like, someone from Voyager wakes up and reality has changed and they never were on the mission, I can totally buy that as an episode for this show. That's
Absolutely.
a great ready-made idea.
Yes.
But doing it in the second season, and instead of, like, the sixth season, and doing it with a character before this we know nothing about, essentially. I'd say Harry Kim's the character we know the least amount about. Makes it just shit.
And he's not an idiot. You know, Harry Kim's a pretty smart guy. He's a bridge crew. You know, this isn't Neelix we're talking about, just a bumbling fool. Like, this is a sharp kid who graduated well in Starfleet Academy and got put on a pretty good ship and was appointed as an ops position. Instantly, he starts running through the list of possible scenarios. Again, it's Star Trek. You know, we jump back to the projections episode. Everything the Doctor went through was a valid thought pattern. I'm in a place I shouldn't be, being told things that can't possibly be true, yet, you know, it's feasible. What are your options? Are you in A, an alternate reality? B, have you been captured by aliens and you're some sort of weird holodeck ruse or, you know, a weird sort of psychology mind trap? Or C, are you just starting to go crazy and this is a big hallucination? Okay. Normally in Star Trek, you get dragged into these weird little hell boxes or whatever. And there's some nefarious agenda to, you know, blow the ship up or give up the codes of the shields or whatever. This guy has been teleported back into a very comfortable situation. You know you're not supposed to be there. You know that Voyager is out there. This isn't some alternate reality where Voyager never happened and everything's honky-dory. Like, Voyager is lost in this alternate reality. Starfleet has done a memorial service. All hands are believed to be lost. And it's a tough thing Starfleet's trying to wrap its head around. There's no immediate threat to Harry Kim. He's a dedicated crew member. What should the first fucking thing this guy does be?
Well, I mean, I think we're on the same page on this. If we're assuming a universe where Starfleet is going to understand that the kind of circumstance that he's going to describe is not impossible, and in fact, if the shows are any indication, at least not even uncommon, then you go report that up the chain and say, listen, this is what's happened from my perspective over the last 8 months. I have no memory of myself being here in San Francisco doing this job that I'm supposed to be doing. Please help me understand what the hell has happened to me and see if we can problem solve a solution.
And more to the point, again, being the only man with any knowledge on Earth that there is a starship in the fucking Delta Quadrant in a very dangerous situation, trying to make it home at all costs. All costs as far as, you know, Janeway's concerned, which is flying into every terrible situation she can possibly locate. Even beyond, hey, help me get back into my ship, would be, guys, Voyager is alive. Here's hope to the hundreds of family members and other people being touched by this terrible incident. Let me be the voice of Voyager while I'm here. If it's an alternate reality, legitimately, if it's a changed timeline, if it's a holodeck, if it's some sort of ruse, if you're just going crazy, nothing about going there and saying, hey guys, Voyager's okay. Here's exactly where it is. This is what it's done so far. whatever you do with me from this point on, I've done my crew a solid and hopefully increase their chances of getting home. That doesn't hurt anything out of the potential cards on the table right now. And the fact he doesn't do that just haunts me the entire episode. You selfish fuck.
I understand why he doesn't do that, if only because his intention is to reset what's happened, so he'd rather not go down the rabbit hole, and they'd rather not go down the rabbit hole for the episode. I can buy that, although you're right. I mean, that's kind of like the secondary effect of what he should have done anyway. And then they eventually have him try to do, but only in the stupidest way possible. But let's walk through. There's so much more garbage. I mean, we're 23 minutes into this, and we've just got so much more garbage to roll around in, Peter.
Yeah, it's just such a big thought episode for me. So he wakes up, and his girlfriend, his fiance, which he would later come to find out, this is a legit woman from his history. This is a
this is his girlfriend before he left. Yeah,
and this is who apparently he's been thinking of when he's not thinking about being in the womb and all that other stuff. She's like, "Look, today's your big day. Get dressed, get out of here." Turns out, you're a Starfleet engineer working for headquarters. She ushers him out the door. He gets ambushed by a very, very friendly, I don't know, what's the guy's name? Cornelius Conrad?
Whatever, super Italian guy.
Who's all up in his face, giving him his Vulcan mocha latte just the way he likes it, which...
Two things. First, I refuse to believe that a buster like Harry Kim, no matter what kind of timeline this is, can afford a goddamn apartment with that view in the fucking Mission District.
Thank you.
That is bullshit. I don't care what kind of science fiction we're watching. That is fucking possible. And two, I also refuse to believe that Vulcans like their coffee with chocolate, god damn it. That is not a people who are like, you know what, this bitter drink that gets me all hyped up. You know what, it needs something sweet in it because that's what I enjoy in life. Fuck that.
I'm looking for a house right now in real life, and Columbus is a city that's blowing up. Real estate is at a premium. It is very difficult to get anything inside the big freeway loop around the city, even outside the loop. And I'm watching exactly the stuff you're talking about. This dude has a baller ass apartment with the perfect view. Like, he has landed it hard. And again, one of these, headcanon episodes, like, all right, so there's no money and everybody on Earth just gets everything for free. Why does a scrub Ensign Harry Kim military guy, why does he get a sweet ass place like this?
Especially since there's apparently been no fucking construction in downtown San Francisco in 400 years. So
very wide open streets. But again, how does this stuff work in this post scarcity society? When he's dealing with Cosmio or whatever this Italian coffee shop owner is, like, I get, the appeal of Starfleet and wanting to go out and fly and explore or doing whatever you want with your time. I have a hard time believing anybody wants to bust tables and clean up after strangers and be there at the crack of dawn and all the other stuff that goes into the shittiness that is owning your own food establishment. Seeing the civilian life up close and personal in the 24th century, as this episode's afforded you, just really, there's a lot of cognitive dissonance going on in this. Like, it's hard to buy their vision of the future and showing the trenches. You know what I mean?
It's a complicated question because, of course, you're right? Like, that's the societal issue this kind of post-scarcity society would create. There's no demand to fill a service job. So why would someone be a bartender in 10 forward in the
I would tell you what,
in the 24th
why would someone
century?
be a coffee shop owner? I would say, all right, well, if you're going to do the shitty thing that's really kind of crappy work, then yeah, you get the baller ass apartment with the perfect view and all those. Like, that's the only way it could work out. But yeah, the real estate Harry Kim has, seeing people with these schlub jobs, it's a weird view on 24th century Earth.
And it would be it would create a hell of a dynamic that, like, people would be competing to work the shittiest jobs, and like promotion would be seen as like, no, then I'd have to move to the place that's like a fucking shoebox on the street. Yeah. Like the admiral's living in in a hobo village. Mm-hmm. Like, because the more important you are, the shittier a place you have to live.
And that's why Starfleet has so many crazy admirals.
So they're living on the street.
They all live in a fucking shanty town and get lead poisoning. And it's what drives them crazy.
Speaking of admirals, we get Harry blowing into a meeting with someone we don't know to have a meeting with some admiral about a ship design he's working on. We get a brief reference to Admiral Nechayev. I don't know if you noticed. Yeah, she was the blonde woman who was the admiral of
Yeah,
Starfleet Intelligence.
yeah.
It was just a reference to that admiral saying, "I don't want to keep the head of Starfleet Intelligence waiting. She does not like to be made waiting."
This
It's like, yeah,
admiral that they have playing in here, he comes up twice. In this episode, he's Admiral Strickler, I think,
mhm.
and he gets used in one of the movies. I don't remember which next gen movie, and Admiral Hawthorne or something different, and it creates an issue because he plays two separate whatever nerd stuff. But yeah, so he gets pulled in. You got a bunch of admirals with the regular glitter zipper fronts. Then there's a couple other dudes with like the regular TNG burgundy shirt uniforms, and then there's Kim and his other buddy rocking the Voyager jumpsuits, and the other guy who's a pretty charismatic Starfleet aspiring engineer starts laying down some revolutionary designs that they've got on I don't know, some new way to handle stuff on runabouts. And then he goes to turn the show over to Harry, who was supposed to have solved a big problem with dilithium matrices or something. And Harry just has no ability to bullshit his way through any of this, starts stuttering. Rather than just laying stuff on the table and being like, hey, upper Starfleet, who should know that this shit happens all the time, let me tell you about what's going on. Also, by the way, Voyager's alive, and here's this other. Just totally botches this perfect opportunity to lay the cards on the table. He's like, oh, yeah, I don't feel good. I got to leave.
It would be one thing if he would been showing like a lot of uncertainty or panic, or like, I'm new at this and I've not experienced this before and this is weird new guy shit. Like, and then he just kind of froze and didn't know what to do, so he just got himself out of the situation because he's still trying to process it. Could have bought that, but instead he's just, and this, God,
He's
I hate
dragging his
this.
ass.
It's because Garrett Wang can't fucking act.
Oh my God, yes. That is the real takeaway from this episode is he is a terrible actor.
He's god awful from beginning to end in this episode. In every highlighted scene he has, he can't convey any kind of convincing emotion.
Can I peel back the
You never
curtain?
go ahead.
This episode is a direct result of him whining. He went to the producers and said, hey, I want action. I want romance. Why can't Kim ever save the day? Why can't Kim ever punch someone? I never had a stunt double. Even Kess has had a stunt double. I want this. I want this. I want this. And then Branagh or whatever is basically like, oh, okay, hey, all the stuff you've just been complaining that you want, over the course of the next second season, we're just going to jam all that shit into one episode to, I don't know, to shut you up or because we thought you could carry it. And they gave him this Mary Sue episode, essentially, like, oh, hey, look how sweet I am. I'm going to be the tough guy and get through all that other crap. And he just shits the bed start to finish.
He fucking really does. They give him every possible opportunity to play range in this episode, from confusion to anger, to trying to figure out what's going on, to camaraderie, to emotional, connection dialogue. And every scene, he's flat and boring, and you can get zero read on what his character is thinking because he can't convey any fucking emotion.
It's miserable, but it's exciting to go through and ream nonetheless. So he, basically fucks up this big presentation, pisses his friend off because he puts like zero effort into it, and then falls back to his engineering office where we get a pretty cool model of a Galaxy starship.
Yeah, I figured you'd notice. It looked like a model of the D. Yeah.
Absolutely.
He's got a nice office, and we find out when he gets his personnel record off the computer that the change in this reality essentially was that he applied to a posting on Voyager and was actually denied. And so instead, he's taken a position with Starfleet Engineering, and he's already actually won an award, and he's focused on warp propulsion theory.
Sure. The big takeaway out of this interaction he has with the computer, and if you can drop this sound clip in, I would love it. he asked the computer, and this is just general, no security clearance needed. He's just like, hey, Google.
Computer, access Starfleet's Science Academy database. Have there been any temporal anomalies in the space-time continuum reported in the last 48 hours?
Negative. No temporal anomalies have been reported.
Blows my mind. This is how common this shit is in Star Trek, is that they have basically, they're charting temporal anomalies like we would track earthquakes.
Like, hey, has there been any sort of weird sort of incursion loops or something like that?
And again, he didn't have to say, hey, upper Starfleet command, top secret clearance. This is just like Joe Blow off the street, but like, man, my back hurts. My back's never hurt before. Hey, check the newspaper. You see anything in the temporal anomalies classifieds that might have...
Yeah, partially cloudy with a chance of temporal loops. I think that might have been what happened.
So again, this is an acknowledged thing, and to me, the fact that this is something that's there, something being cataloged, something that is present in everybody's mind, like more future tear for me, man. Just living in a world where you're like, maybe what I believe to be reality isn't, and I don't know, just that uncertainty that nothing is really, really real or the way it's supposed to be. Very haunting.
So some unseen other dude took his place that he's apparently friends with and he also
BFFs with fact.
BFFs with it. We don't know who this guy is, but Danny Bird. And he goes back home a little confused as to what the fuck is going on. And the super Italian cafe guy like assures him and believes that he's going back home for a little afternoon delight, gonna go put it to eyebrows, gonna
club
make it happen,
club her over the head and drag her back to the cave.
That poor woman.
And then,
I mean, I don't know if that was makeup or not, but if it was, they really did her a disservice.
Well, Kim confides in this not rando, but in his favorite barista. Hey, by the way, I know it's going to sound weird, but I don't know where I live. And when I left this morning, I didn't really look at the door with my address. I know you make a really mean Vulcan mocha latte. By any chance, do you know my home address?
And even weirder is the guy's like, of course, this is precisely where you live. Go, have a good day. And then you get that incredibly unsubtle lingering shot as his expression changes slightly. Like I'm going to go ahead and cue the sound effect everyone knows is going to happen like right here.
Is it the dun dun dun?
Of course it is.
It needs to be the dun dun dun.
It's going to be.
And you'll also notice that Garrett doesn't convey any emotion at all as he is told not only like, oh, hey, yeah, man, you live in that building over there. Oh, no, you live in that building over there. Floor, whatever, room number this. Like, what? What? Why do you know? Kim, who can't tell the Starfleet admirals, hey, this ship is alive, everything is good, can't tell the admirals, hey, look, there's some temporal fuckery going on, who's like so self-conscious about what people will think or whatever his fucking reason is, tells essentially a stranger, I don't know where I live, with zero hesitation, only to find out that guy knows exactly. So, off he goes. And then he begins some role-playing exercises with his fiance.
Yeah, so they get this little intense talk time with Eyebrows McNinety's chick in a towel. And this is where, like, if you weren't already convinced that Garrett Wang can't fucking act, this just takes it all the way to the house, because it's supposed to be this sultry, emotional, like Kim's trying to elicit this emotional response because he hasn't really seen his girlfriend, now his fiance, and what to him has been most of a year. And
8 months.
It just, credit to the actress who puts in more effort, but Garrett Wang can't convey that emotion in any authentic way.
And creates
they get the camera
chemistry.
None. They close that camera in tighter and tighter and tighter, and it's just this flat, like this hint of why don't we act like I haven't seen you? How about how about we do that? Like you can't feel from the performance at all that there's a genuine emotion that Kim is in any way feeling anything real. Like what I likened it to my wife as we watched it was I feel like I'm watching a slightly above average high school performance, like stage performance. This is all the acting in the entire show. It even brings down people who are usually not as bad when Tom Paris finally makes his grand appearance. Like Robert Duncan McNeil, even he's like just dragged down by proximity. Even his scenes are garbage.
I think high school play is giving this thing too much credit. I would put the acting and the emotion and the chemistry that we're seeing here on par with like the community college lab safety video that I had to watch.
I was going to say, if you're going to compare this to community theater, I have legitimately seen much better from community theater than is in this episode. But I have seen better actually in high school theater. But if this were at a high school play, I would say they did okay.
Okay, so
C+.
He presumably sleeps with his fiance, and 4 a.m. in the morning, he wakes up and starts poking around on his computer, trying to get back into figuring out what's going on here. Again, he's made no real attempts to inform or rectify or go into like a super defense. Let's assume, he thought maybe this is aliens playing a trick on him. No points to say throw up his hands and say, I refuse to interact with this any further, blah, 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 like pull up a card. So let's strip out all the crappy acting and the failures of Garrett here and say that this might have been a good character plugged in instead. I don't know. Who do you think would have been the right person to feature in this episode?
I actually had a long conversation with Stevie about that very subject. If I were going to do a rewrite on this, it would have been an episode in the 7th season instead of the 2nd, and it would have been Tom Paris as the focus for sure.
Yeah. I think Paris would have been the right person to do this on too.
He's the character who over the course of this series is going to have his life improved the most by being on Voyager and being in the Delta Quadrant. And by the end of the run of the episode, he has had gained so much that this would have been a huge emotional opportunity for that character to see what his life could have turned out like otherwise.
Story.
And then be like desperate to get it back. And it would have, he's a better actor, so he could have conveyed that authentically.
Sure. So what I want to really say is at this point, he's put in a full day in fantasy land. He has not made any real hard attempts to start investigating or using the plethora of privileged resources he has to fix this thing. Why is he not taking action? And I think if we're going to try and put credit where credit isn't due, it should be because this life is so ideal. This life is so good that it's genuinely difficult for the misplaced Starfleet officer to say, you know what, I can't take this beautiful gift. I need to fight to get back into the trenches out on Voyager. And I don't see him enjoying really any of this. The scant few scraps that we know about Harry Kim begins with his parents are extremely overprotective and that he misses them terribly, right? That's really the first thing you get for him is that he's, I don't want to say a mama's boy, but
he's young and this is his first time out. And so he's got family that miss him
terribly and he misses them terribly. They kind of touch on, when he wakes up at 4 a.m. after getting out of bed, he sees his old clarinet. He's picking it up. He's kind of playing it. Like the homesick fever is kind of starting to get the better of him, right? The fact there's no mention of his mother or any of his extended family, like, again, alt reality, holodeck, alien ruse, crazy, any of these things, why not make that? Okay, you're not going to tell everybody that Voyager's out there and put those families at ease. Sure, whatever. You're not going to call your own mom and at least be like, oh God, it's good to hear your voice. Even if I'm just crazy and I'm having like, a flashback fever or I'm in some alternate craziness dimension, like, you're not going to indulge and take the one staple, the one tent peg we have for your character really and pursue that at all.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. Again, there's maybe if Garrett Wang wasn't a terrible actor, this emotional confusion that would have led him to not make those choices could have been better understood or better conveyed, or the writing was just that bad too, or whatever.
I want to
You're
go
right.
with some
Like,
bad writing.
should have.
I want to spread some of the blame out because let's jump back to initiations. Okay, the Chakotay Kazan crew swap gun show. There is a failure in this writer room to acknowledge the character histories that they've established for these people. Chakotay, by the portrayal in Initiations, is not a terrorist who has gone to great lengths to protect his home from invaders and views violence as a viable alternative and despises or even resents the Starfleet uniform he has been forced to wear again. Harry Kim, who, again, it's not like he's got a lot of history, just the writers are like, fuck that stuff. I want to talk about a coffee drink preference instead.
You're right. They absolutely should, at the very least, since there's so little established about Harry Kim, used what was established. But they didn't. And Harry is busily finding out that Tom Paris, not on the crew manifest, didn't make it to the Delta Quadrant. And so he sees an opportunity in that to finally take action. And instead of, again, turning to the plethora of way better options to help him understand what's happened to him, he decides to go look up his buddy Tom, who I'm sure he probably already realizes, given the situation that he already understands, won't know him and be essentially of no help to him.
Will still be a convict terrorist.
Walking syphilis.
Let me roll back here real quick because it's going to play in. As you're trying to figure out what is the true nature of the situation he's in, Kim tries pulling up some Voyager files. They're all classified because it's MIA. He uses his Voyager security clearances and gets access to all this stuff. So he, his situation's legit. He's proven empirically that he knows things he shouldn't. He's able to, it's not just him. He's impacting the environment. He's using these other knowledges to do things where he's at. So I think it starts cementing the alternate reality time option. And I was curious if Starfleet was going to see him fishing around those files. So all these crew manifests and stuff he's looking at, he shouldn't be in there. But, his girlfriend wakes up. She's like, oh, what's wrong? When are you going to tell me what's up? Again, he's being needlessly evasive and silly. Instead of using resources like her emotional support, he just kind of shuts her out because he wants to go pursue this stranger. And after some bad jokes about France, says, oh, it's 4 a.m. I'm going to zip over there. And I wanted to know, how's he getting over there? Is there a transporter network around Earth and anybody can go anywhere at any time like that? Is he going to be in a shuttle, some sort of an airplane? But they
actually, hold on. I just want to let you know that in DS9 in particular, they essentially established that a worldwide transporter network exists.
That's fucking awesome. That is cool as shit.
It is.
Before or after this episode?
Would have run parallel because I'll have to look it up to see if that's something that happened before or after. It definitely occurred. I want to say 4th season. Worf was in the show, so it could have been happened in this same season.
Well, that's really cool to hear, and it would have been. It's not like those transporter effects or bank breakers here, but whatever. So he ends up in, what is this? The holodeck recreation fuckpad that Paris made for Voyager.
Yeah, the quote unquote real version of Sandrine's, the JO fantasy room. So somehow, apparently, Tom Paris morphed into a dumpy version of Neil Patrick Harris in this reality.
Got that vibe too, huh?
Yeah, actually, got a hat tip to the wife. She's the one that called that out. And we find out that in this version of reality, in an explanation that makes no sense whatsoever.
But was still a nice DS9 call out.
It was a nice call out. I mean, that Paris got in a fight on DS9 with Quark and he got jailed by Odo and therefore got his parole revoked and didn't go on the mission.
Janeway does still make the attempt to drag him in, and basically he shot himself in the foot.
Correct. And then she actually tries to get him out of jail with Odo, and Odo says no, and that makes perfect sense if you've watched a lot of DS9. So he didn't make the mission, and therefore went back to the Pokey until his term ran out.
Let's talk about that real quick as we continue to flesh out Starfleet according to Voyager. He got busted for terrorism, right? He got
Treason.
Treason. He got, well, same thing when you're talking about the Maquis, really. He got kicked out of Starfleet for getting people killed, goes over, joins the Maquis, gets busted, gets arrested, gets sent off to the, this penal colony in New Zealand, which is sunny California pleasure garden. 18 months, man. That's all treason's worth in the Federation. 18 months.
I'm not surprised. With 24th century prison politics being, much lighter on the sentencing, much more harsher on the rehabilitation. So, you're not keeping people locked up for very long because they've ascended beyond that as a method by which to cure recidivism. I get it. I imagine crime is so blessedly rare in 24th century utopian society where there's absolutely no scarcity, that they have the luxury of operating in this fashion. But what you get, though, is Tom essentially permanently shit-faced in this French bar. And, man, this is like the worst acting. This is where, like, now Garrett Wang isn't just terrible on his own. Now he's sucking other people into his shit vortex. The fucking black hole of despair that his inability to act starts getting Tom Paris enveloped in it, and McNeil can't pull out. He can't get enough thrust to get out of the event horizon. He starts getting sucked in. They do a shitty stage punch, Star Trek fighting stage punch. After he's like, I don't know who you are and I don't care, and I'm too far gone to give a shit, and I don't like anyone, and I'm not going to help you, Harry Kim. Apparently go figure out what happened to you by doing shuttle simulations, which I don't know where the fuck that came from, but apparently that's what Harry's decided is his way to figure out how to.
What would you even need Tom Paris for? I need you to fly a shuttlecraft in a computer simulation. What? Like,
well, there's not a billion fucking qualified people that can help you with this at Starfleet Command. Jesus.
Again, you've got these resources, and you're going to go to a complete stranger who has no reason to help you. I know we're kind of beating a dead horse on this thing, but my problem with this scene, and I get, you got to draw some other people from the alternate timeline. You can't have him just acting with all special guest Starfleet dudes. At no point does Kim say, hey, I had to find you. Here's my crazy story. I'm going to tell you that I won't fucking tell the reasonable people at Starfleet who, might be able to really do something about this, but I need to draw you in. I know you're a terrorist. I know you're an ex-con. I know you got no reason to believe me. But in this other world, you and I are very close friends. We're best friends. We've saved each other's lives. One time you tried to have sex with a lady with poop on her head and got framed for murder, and I helped save your life. Like, he doesn't play the friendship card at all. Like, he pitches this whole thing to Paris about, like, it's your duty, and these other people need your help, and there's like no human,
and otherwise you're a loser.
Yeah, like while he wakes up in this episode like a human being who's kind of like curled in the fetal position without a mask on his eyes, here he is, the android we know he is, rigid with his palms at his side and no flexibility. It's the worst sales pitch possible. I don't blame Paris for telling him to fuck off at all. And it's just stupid. This, again, another missed opportunity to reinforce that these guys mean a lot to each other, and that you have, it would have been ideal to have Kim be able to sell Paris, who has no reason to believe any of this shit, on the pure emotion of, believe me, we're friends. I need you, and you need this too, because in the other world, you're awesome, and here, I want better for you. And that's really what the resolution of this episode boils down to. Is he walks away from this beautiful golden opportunity of a perfect life and an opportunity to be the biggest asset to Voyager possible as the on-Earth liaison to really start making some connections here. He throws his own happiness away. He throws the survivability and the lifeline to Starfleet for Voyager away because Paris is a drunk piece of shit here, and I owe him more than I owe the entirety of that ship.
You're selling me so hard on that this episode really could have worked as a Harry Kim adventure, which is impressive because I had convinced myself there was no way it could work. But you're right, like that level of emotion and delivering on like that their friendship as the fulcrum and really like emphasizing that Harry's like, no man, I love you like a brother.
If this needs to be a total bro episode because he's going bros over hose on this, right? He's got the girl he wants. They're getting married.
Right. Mm-hmm.
They're sharing a cave together. Okay. Another thing, his own happiness, his girlfriend's happiness, his parents knowing happening, everybody on Voyager's parents knowing what's happening. Like so much stuff in the reasons to stay in this timeline versus the reasons to go back to being lost in space. And it all comes down to Tom Paris, who he doesn't even say, hey, by the way, we're friends and you mean a lot. So that's the real shitty tipping point here. He gets, the sloppy punch thrown. Somehow he beats Paris in a fight, which I don't believe for a fucking minute.
Even sloshed, I don't buy that. I buy that less than him having a fucking apartment in the Mission District.
That is a huge disconnect, Joe. And you're right. So we get treated some more stock footage of Star Trek movies of, a sky view of, zooming back over the Golden Gate Bridge over to Starfleet, where Kim walks back into his beautiful Mission District apartment, and we see two security dudes chilling out with season 2 phasers on their belt, and his girlfriend and this I don't remember the hell the lieutenant's name is, his engineering partner, who everybody is in like total reasonable mode, and he's like, oh god, what's going on? And they're like, look dude, hey, Starfleet knows that you've been mucking around in restricted databases and you've been acting weird, and your girlfriend, your fiance agrees, and we want to help you, man. They start rolling out the red carpet for him to unfuck this situation. He has a little hissy fit.
They bring him in front of the Admiral.
Yeah.
Like he gets FaceTime with the biggest brass there he could hope to be in front of on this. And he instead of like calmly and rationally being like, okay, listen, I've been confused about what the fuck was going on. I think I got it parsed out.
I didn't know if I was in an alien trap or I was just going crazy or the other very real thing. We're joking about the hotline that Starfleet should have for this kind of shit in the intro. Realistically, this has been going on for centuries at this point in Star Trek. I would think like temporal displacement coping mechanisms should be like a required class at Starfleet Academy.
Absolutely.
I went through the flow chart and I have now established that this is not a trap or trick and that I am in a legitimate alternate timeline, and then that I don't pose a fucking space-time continuum debacle threat, and start rolling out this stuff as, an enlightened ops science dude on a bridge should be able to do.
But like you said, instead he throws a little hissy fit and demands his lawyer and winds up like getting a home detention ankle bracelet or something.
Not even yet, man, because he starts sloppily throwing all this stuff out there. And I don't see anything from the Starfleet side where they're like, that's preposterous. They're just like, give us I think asking for evidence is silly because like, how can you prove? It's not like, it'd be like, well, look, I brought my ID card from like, he just quantum leaps like slidered into this body. He could have been like, the reason I didn't hack my way into these databases, I used a legit code. I can tell you operational stuff about the ship that I shouldn't know, but I do because what I'm telling, like lay out some empirical evidence. Not a big deal. And then things escalate in the most excellent way while like he's throwing like, he might as well got like crayons out and try to draw on the back of a menu to like present his case. And while, the Admiral's trying to watch him, someone comes in with a pad and is like, oh, yeah, by the way, he just got back from Paris where he was Marsalis or whatever, where he was hanging out with a dude who got kicked out of Starfleet and then fucking went rogue with the Maquis. Like, he has shot himself in both feet twice.
the guy playing Lieutenant spits out some dialogue that makes sense in the scene. I think that's probably the best I can say. Like, he's like, I believe that you believe what you're saying, but here's all the
Reasonable.
other alien conspiracy shit that could be happening that makes
Reasonable.
it possible.
And also, let's jump off what you're talking about. If this is a season 4-ish for DS9, isn't this about the time like Dominion Wars and like Changeling Founders start rolling out?
I was waiting to see if they were going to reference that he could be a changeling or something.
Because he's like, you could be an alien. And I'm like, this is some legitimate paranoia for Starfleet. Like, if there's one thing, it's Starfleet is not above infiltration. I mean, what was that fucking dickhead's name from season 1? No, season 2. No, it was season 2 that they, like, the best moment of Next Gen ever, where they phaser that fucking guy until his head blows up and it's like a giant insect head. God, what was his name? Joe, come on, what's this guy's name? Remick.
Harry ultimately walks dejectedly back to his apartment.
With a sweet ankle bracelet like it's 94.
And obviously, we finally get the clearly suspicious coffee guy sits him down and just absolutely lays it out and says, hey, by the way, I'm an alien. I'm kind of exist out of phase with the time-space continuum as you understand it, but long story short, bro, you sort of hit like a time-space speed bump and
landed the time-space jackpot.
Yeah, and you kind of reconfigured everything, and you wound up here. And I was assigned to make sure you're all right. Things turned out pretty fucking good for you, bro. Like, got a sweet job, you got your girl, you're not fucking stuck in the ass end of the Delta Quadrant waiting to get eaten by some sort of space horror.
There's no goofy rules you have to play by where I say you can't mention anything from the alternate reality. You have to keep it all to yourself. You can go back to Starfleet and tell them everything you know and help the hell out of this other crew. Like, this is as good as it gets. And also, how lame is it that, like, this NPC, not NPC, but,
NPC, no, he's an NPC. He's an NPC.
This NPC is just like, hey, player, come on over, sit down at the coffee table. I see you struggling with the module. I'm going to go ahead and show you the DM's book. Here's a script for the plot. It turns out you hit a magic ley line out in space, and it was like a 1 in a million shot that this happened, but like you rolled really well, and you are in an idealized situation right now. You can cry if you want to, continue the quest, turn to page 36, but be aware, you try and roll the dice on this thing, and God only knows the deep space horror that awaits you.
And I do appreciate that this guy just did not give a shit if that's ultimately what he wanted to do. He's like, all right, fine, doesn't affect me any. I mean, like, we were just looking out for you. You really want to do this, I'll go ahead and give you, like, the cheat codes, and you can give it another try, but, you just keep drawing from that deck of many things. Eventually you're going to hit that one that sends you into, like, an astral prison. And
astral prison, being transported at a time before life exists on Earth, being transported to poisonous air Earth, like, the mind reels at what could happen. And when you say cheat codes, he literally gives him like a little computer USB drive with all the info. He literally gives him like the cheat code.
Yeah, like, all right, go ahead. So he goes back to his apartment real quick and has one more scene with Eyebrows, McKnighty's chick, who's wearing a see-through dress in the scene, and I couldn't not stare at it because it seems so baffling to me of why that would be the wardrobe choice, but that's what
I want to talk about her real quick. So the first time we see her, like, she is pretty much naked this entire episode. I think someone at the production studio after that birthright just kind of had a thing for her. And she is like,
man, everything she's in's kind of pervy, isn't it?
Yeah, and I'm not trying to be like, rattling the feminist saber here, but it's just like, this is weird.
Until you just said that, she was in like basically a shirt in their first scene,
a towel.
She was in a towel in the second scene. She was in a nightgown in the third scene, and in this one, she's wearing a full
skin tight cat suit, essentially.
But that's see through. Like, you could see through
the red one.
Yeah, you can totally see her underwear. Like, that's very visible. That's all very pervy. Now that you mention it, yeah, I think you're right.
Finally rolls out like the, hey, here's a scoop. Everything's perfect. but I'm going to dip out on this reality. And here's some really unconvincing reasons why. And she lays down some common sense, great arguments. He's like, you know me, once I get something in my mind, I can't shake it. And even if I stayed here in this paradise, helping Void, it doesn't even cross his mind he could be an assistant to like Void. At the end of this, my takeaway is when he tells Janeway what happened here, if I was Janeway, I'd slap the fuck out of this guy and be like, you selfish little prick. But anyways, and she's like, well, okay, take me with you. And he's like, no, I got to do this on my own. Meanwhile, he's been cocking around with this like 90s style police ankle bracelet, stops in the midpoint to start talking to his girlfriend. Whatever head start he could have had, he's basically wasted. It starts beeping. They're like, oh, security's coming. And what's pretty cool is security just beams in his fucking house.
No need for a warrant in the 24th century. They're just there.
In my mind, I'm like, are they going to try and kick in the door? Are they going to do the reasonable thing? Just beam right in this fucking, like, okay, you know what? This guy, we're done with him. This Maquis sympathizer, traitor, get his ass. So they beam in. And then it's like the most laughable action sequence I think we've seen yet. Even more so than the thrown punch.
In the following order, this is what happens. The phaser-armed security officers are thwarted by a window being closed and a young woman standing in front of it.
They don't even say move. They just turn and like...
They're just like, oh no! She's in front of it! We have to go to the next floor. They have a...
It's like, hold on. It's like she puts her arms up and she's got like really bad BO and they're like, oh God. I thought...
so stinky!
That suit is so sexual, but man, you reek. I'm out of here.
They have a low-speed foot chase through a soundstage.
Through what appears, and as we're really getting a big view of what they call San Francisco in the future, I can't shake the feeling this was the set that they filmed Dick Tracy on.
Yeah, it's some studio lot in LA. It's just with just some overlays over some buildings. So they do the loop a few times through that. And then finally there's a little tackle from the security guard.
On the fire escape? No, he beats one of the security dudes on the fire escape.
Correct. And he's got the other one and he's doing laps and eventually he gets tackled. And that's when suddenly, out of nowhere, it's Tom laying down the Falcon Punch.
He comes out swinging like Chakotay on Dobie.
Yes, it does. That's what it reminded me of. It was that Maquis punch. Mm-hmm. He lands the Maquis like across the face, perfect stage punch. And it's like, oh, hey, look, it's Tom, because that's what the story demands.
Was it not maddening during this chase down the fucking street that like at no point is a security guy who's packing a fucking Type 2 phaser like, you know what, maybe I should just stun this guy?
Nah, it's what I expected at this point, honestly.
And then when like there's this firefight between Starfleet security and like a hobo and whatever, like everybody on the street's just cool with it happening. No one's like, oh God, I better step forward and stop whatever terrible terrorism's going on here. Just, whatever.
Speaking of whatever, the rest of this episode is mostly just dialogue between Harry Kim and Tom Paris that is incredibly forgettable, and it starts really circling the drain in terms of the effort from both of these actors.
They are pulling opportunities out of their ass. Harry Kim in this universe is not only in a really cool situation, I think he boils down to whatever happened in this timeline, he is like long shot or domino out of Marvel. He has incredible luck. He cannot fail. His ability to leave this world is amazing to me.
The jump to conclusions,
Henry Kim
is
cannot lose. Remember that Parker Lewis cannot lose? That's Harry Kim in this. And the guy with the trench coat from Parker Lewis can't lose. That's what this episode should be. Harry Kim can't lose. When they're like, oh God, we need a ship. Oh, I've just so happened to have access to a new badass runabout. Oh, it's in my security. We got to get into like the most secure thing in the area, the Starfleet headquarters. How are we going to do this? Tom, the Maquis terrorist who was drummed out and fucking like court-martialed and imprisoned, like, well, I just so happen to have friends still in Starfleet who gave me a really sweet site-to-site transporter that can breach Starfleet. What else can you produce? The security people aren't shooting at it. You're kicking everybody's ass left and right. Windows are stopping people from chasing you. Paris shows up in the nick of time with an off-screen punch. Paris has a magical transporter that can transport you into the fucking Starfleet headquarters.
This is a DM trying to wrap this shit up.
Harry Kim should have stopped and said, wait a minute. I've been wrong. This is not an alternate timeline. Too much is going my way. I'm high. Someone is fucking with me. Q, where are you? I know this has to be your doing. So, skip a bunch of schlocky crap. There's a half-ass firefight in Starfleet. They beam off onto this fucking runabout. You get some stock footage from... I know my space dock doors. And I gotta say, the space dock that they're leaving with that runabout, I believe that's the Dyson Sphere from the Scotty episode. And they superimposed the fucking runabout flying out of there.
I think you're right, because it didn't look like a film shot like it would have if it was one of the other reuses.
I bet my eyebrows, my non-caveman eyebrows, that's the Dyson Sphere. You get some pretty cool footage from what looks like that episode where the Sutherland was flying, that the Nebula class was shooting up Cardassians. You got something that's got the firepower of a fucking Galaxy class chasing down this runabout, laying shots on it. Harry Kim's got the cheat codes for where the nearest ley line is. And they start trying to recreate the situation that, Kim... This is while a big starship's chasing him and shooting him. They're just popping out their hypothesis without having hashed any of this shit out before. Like,
it's this back and forth science dialogue that's just like
wrong
so
time
paint
for
by numbers. Yeah, it's so paint by numbers technobabble that's passionless, and it's like, why is this how you're feeling the final act of this episode? Like, what is intense about these two actors trading nonsense with each other?
Hey, I put all the shit in so it's the same as before. Punch it. That's all you need to say. But no, instead it's like, extended technobabble. They fly through. It doesn't work. And then Kim's like, oh yeah, that's right, because I was teleporting. So not only do I have like an ass hair's chance, like with chance to end up back in my own timeline, right? But let's go ahead and up the ante even more. Not only do I want to roll the dice on my own life, but beam me out into space to make this exactly the same. So even if it doesn't work, I'm going to suffocate in the void of space. And also, this thing is about to blow up, so Paris, I'm condemning you to death too. Gosh, I sure hope that alien wasn't pulling my leg.
Tension free though, because you know what's about to happen. I mean, this was just ready for this to end. And as a consequence, what happens, of course, is that Harry Kim winds back up where he's quote unquote supposed to be after recreating the accident. And they do a quick pass the ball on the bridge so that all the regulars can get a line in. And sure enough, they of course retrieve Kim, who immediately kind of smarmily Chakotay, yeah, I ran into a time problem. I owe you one, Tom, and then that's it. It doesn't look like he actually tells anyone what happens. That's where they end it. They're like, he's just kind of being a dick to his boss, and then he tells his friend that he owes him something, and his friend's like, what the fuck do you mean? And he just kind of like walks off the set. Like,
no debriefing. No debriefing.
Yeah.
I don't know if they ever touch on this or if it's just a bottle episode. No chance for Janeway to come across a table and grab Harry Kim by the neck with both hands and jam her thumbs. Well, maybe it should be Tuvok or Chakotay, since how many opportunities has Janeway squandered to make their situation better? But be like, dude, you could have, assuming this wasn't just all a dream, you could have been on Earth, like feeding fucking info, telling people we're alive. All the shit and all the emotional heart pulling that they did in Eye of the Needle, when we sent a message back to Earth on a 40-year delay or whatever, that you saw happen and you knew the power that could have had in our predicament, and you fucking squandered it over Tom Paris's convict ass. But and then they wrap it up real neat with a bow tie. That's that, and they start rolling the credits.
I think you wrapped it up nice there with that sound effect, my friend. It was fun to get back to shitting on something rather than being shit on by something. But
Lots of
season,
potential here,
well,
man. Again, squandered opportunities.
you know how we mentioned that season 1 was like pleasantly mediocre for the most part? It wasn't like total shit. Like there was most of the time we're like, that wasn't too bad. I mean, it wasn't great, but squandered opportunities, but it stayed on the right side of like of the Mendoza line. Man, season 2 has been real tough.
Season 2 is a junior high dance, and all the boys are on the left side and all the girls are on the right side, and all the good episodes are on the left side and all the bad episodes are on the right side. Strong potential here, some really cool opportunities for extended thought and deep diving into like, life in the 24th century and getting a kind of inside view as to what Starfleet commands like. But at face value, and what I think most people would take away who aren't meticulously dissecting these episodes, this is poop. And I don't think anybody came out happy with the results from what I was seeing on the behind the scenes stuff. Something interesting, the admiral who grills him, Strickler, like I said, the admiral who pops up some other places, was supposed to be Troy.
Oh man, that would have been something.
It would have really been something to have Troy in there. If Troy, an empath, listened, more reason, like, hey, look, I'm telling you the truth. Read my fucking mind.
Like I said at the very beginning, and I'll wrap my thoughts on it by saying it again. The premise of this episode was not the part that was bad. This premise actually is a baked-in great idea for a show like Voyager. It's just doing it in season 2, and doing it with a character that we have not established and therefore don't care about, and therefore none of this has emotional weight, and then giving it to an actor who cannot fucking act. I mean, it was just bad on every conceivable level, but at least it was enjoyably bad.
Very enjoyable. I was very excited to come into this. I mean, we're sitting at the hour 18 mark here, but yeah, I got some deeper thoughts on this. I think I'll save if we do another season wrap for 2, some alternate reality debating. But from here, we're going to season 2, episode 6, Twisted. Voyager encounters. Hold on. Before we do that, what were our predictions for this episode? Who was the worst person to feature?
Oh, we knew it was Harry Kim from the description, so we didn't make guesses.
Okay. All right. So this is going to be a wash. Season 2, episode 6, Joe. Voyager is going to encounter a mysterious energy field that surrounds the ship and disrupts the crew's communications. What a fucking shitty Isn't that like every episode? Okay, Joe, there's an episode coming up where shit doesn't work right on the ship. Do the dun 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 sound.
It's gonna get some overuse in this one, I think. I have terrible news. It's
a good episode, and I'm gonna be hard pressed to come up with things to shit on.
No.
So it's the bad kind of terrible news. Ugh.
This episode was so bad that they almost didn't air it.
You're telling me that there was an episode that was somehow worse than Elysium?
You know how these writers sometimes think they really nailed it, and then we watch it and we wonder like what kind of drugs they're on? This is an episode that was so bad that it even pierced that veil, and they're like, maybe we shouldn't let people see this.
And then UPN execs stepped in and said, it airs.
Well, they apparently reshot a bunch of it, so this is the famous lore of this. Like this, man, season 2 is real rough. Oh God, I forgot how bad this was.
We've never really discussed if we're going to watch everything or if like the worst of the worst is going to get.
No, I'm doing it all, man. Like if you want to tap out and then I gotta soldier through this somehow. I guess I'm a completionist. I'm doing every fucking episode of this show. So you'll have to let me know if you're mad enough to take the punishment with me, or if I gotta, find someone to step in.
The one scrap I have in these terrible episodes is again just being able to build precedent and have stuff to draw on for later episodes. So I'll wade through it and let's fingers crossed that there's going to be something worth taking away from it at the end of the day. Worst character for this to focus on.
I forget who it actually focuses on. I'm gonna say,
I'm gonna throw Chakotay. I think Chakotay is gonna be the worst person to focus in on this.
I'm gonna say the worst person to focus it in on Janeway. I feel like Janeway would be the worst
Yeah,
person to
she can
focus this in on.
spin the whole thing as a metaphor for her failure to connect with the ship's crew. Blah blah blah. All right, care to hear about a rule of acquisition?
This is the rule of acquisition worthy episode. Hit it.
I wish I would have saved the one about home is where the heart is, but the stars have made Aladdin. But instead, since he had so many opportunities and had this gone another way, could have been a really good episode to draw on all the resources of San Francisco Starfleet and his quote unquote hot wife. Rule of acquisition. My list is messed up. Well, exploitation begins at home, and your homework, viewers or listeners at home, see which rule of acquisition that actually was. Somewhere after $2.99. I don't know, but
All right.
I put as much effort into that into making this episode make any sense on behalf of the fucking writers. Ugh.
If you have been listening to Voyager, please, A Hateful Voyage with the Delta Quadrant. My name is Joseph.
I'm Peter.
And come join us next week where maybe we'll make it. Maybe. You'll have to tune in to find out. Peace.